everyone, and welcome to day 3 of CBC Live at TIFF. Joining me today is CBC News' Zuleka Nathu as we live stream from CBC Toronto. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're looking well for day 3.
Yeah, thanks to hair and makeup.
All right, on today's show, we have some great stuff from last night's red carpets. We have an interview with Canadian superstar director Jason Reitman. We have the filmmakers from The F Word and The Square. And Ron James is stopping by. That's going to be fun.
They'll be great.
Okay, so let's talk about last night's red carpets, Zuleka. What were the big ones? Prisoners first, right?
Yeah, so Prisoners was one of the big ones. This was Jake Gyllenhaal. Hugh Jackman was also on the red carpet, and Canadian director Denis Villeneuve. What's so cool about this is that, yes, you have those famous faces there, but Denis Villeneuve has been getting so much buzz from all of these big names. A lot of people just really looking to work with him, and he's actually down for a director and writer contract for the next couple of years. A lot of people saying that he is really the next big thing in terms of Hollywood, which is amazing to see that he's, you know, part of the Canadian contingent.
Definitely. I think we didn't realize how much we'd be talking about this film during TIFF until it premiered at Venice. And so we have been, and that's great. When audiences talk about going to see it, though, they're a little weary about how heavy it is when you want to have a good time at TIFF. So we actually talked to Jake Gyllenhaal on the red carpet yesterday about that. Here's what he had to say.
I think that the only way to love the light is to know the dark and vice versa. You know, that we spend a lot of time as we get older when we're children, and I see this from like my nieces who read children's books, I read it to them. They're very dark. A lot of those stories are filled with a certain type of darkness, and I think there's nothing really to be afraid of there, though many children are afraid of the dark. They're also really intrigued by it. And I think there's a childish aspect in all of us that's intrigued by the dark. It's why I think we love horror films. I think it's why a film like this is so interesting and it's fascinating ultimately in the end, and why we're fascinated by it.
All right, and the other big red carpet last night was 12 Years a Slave. Can you remind us what the film's about, Zuleka?
Yeah, so this is a film about a man who is a free man in the 19th century, and he's captured and sold into slavery in the Deep South in the United States. And yes, Brad Pitt is in the film, and yes, he certainly stunned the crowds when he showed up. You'll actually see in these pictures, he walked all the way down that downtown street where he knew fans would be before he actually went to talk to media, which I thought was pretty nice. You know, in total, his role is about 6 minutes long or something like that in the film, but he was a real behind-the-scenes person as well as a producer on this.
Yeah, and he actually was telling people over and over in different words that if he never made another film, he would be happy that if this was the last one. He's so proud of it. And we have a clip from Brad Pitt and Michael Fassbender yesterday talking on the red carpet to CBC News' Diana Sumanak about why director Steve McQueen was the person to do this film right.
Steve McQueen is a filmmaker that we have great respect for from his first film, Hunger, and we started talking about what we could do together. And he asked the big question. He said, why are there not more American films on slavery? It's such a big part of your history and your past. And it's the right question, and it took a Brit to ask it. And here we are tonight.
From the first film, when we worked on Hunger together, we just had a sort of, understanding with one another. He's just great at sort of giving you the confidence to trust in your own instincts, and he really gives you a place at work that is a very trusting place. Creatively, it feels very safe and can really sort of push the boundaries and find the limits, and then go beyond them. And it's hard to do that without the right instructions.
The F Word is a romantic comedy that premieres tonight. It stars Daniel Radcliffe as a guy who's in love with his best friend. We're so happy to have director Michael Dowse, screenwriter Elan Mastai with us here today. Guys, we're so excited about this film. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
The F Word, that's the worst word in love. What is it?
We say it's the dirtiest word in romance, friends. And I think we've all been in that friend zone, whether you're somebody in love with somebody that's with somebody else, or whether you're in a relationship and you meet somebody that makes you question the relationship you're in. It's pretty relatable. I know I have been in this many times.
Yeah, any particular one that inspired this screenplay?
Well, I like to say that I did research from about ages 15 to 25 for the movie, because I've been in pretty much every different version of this.
Michael, do you relate?
Yeah, I personally don't think you can be friends. I mean, it's always the sex gets in the way. That's been my problem.
Someone's always in love with someone.
Pardon me?
Are you saying someone's always in love with someone? Do you guys agree? Is that how it is?
Yeah.
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 We got one guy in the back who's like, oh, hell yes.
Do you have something you want to talk to us about tonight? Because we can give advice.
We got time. We got time.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those eternally complicated questions with men and women or whoever you happen to be attracted to. I mean, you want, and I think that's the thing about the characters in the movie. You know, you want to just say, yeah, we can just be friends. I can take my attraction for the person and pack it away in a little box and just relate to the person as a friend because they're super fun to hang out with. But it gets complicated.
But then you want to have sex with them.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
Is that going to be your contribution for most of this discussion?
That's
It's just
pretty much any film.
Yeah.
It's great, Michael.
Just
We'll
then
have
I
you
wanna
on
have
every
sex
day.
with them.
Yeah. That's how Mike answers every question. What do you want for lunch?
Can I have sex with you?
Yeah.
The screenplay has been getting buzz long before TIFF and long before the movie was made because it made the blacklist.
Yeah.
Tell us remind our audience what that is.
Sure. The Blacklist is an annual list of sort of Hollywood's best unproduced screenplays. And so every year, kind of executives, development people, studio people, agents, managers, all kind of vote on what they thought, what was the best script they read that year. So I was really lucky that my script made that list, and it opened up a lot of doors for me and kind of got a lot of traction on the script and people paying attention to it. And then I was really lucky that Mike read it. And, getting a chance to work with Mike, I was a fan of his films, the Fubar movies, and It's All Gone Pete Tong, and more recently Goon, before we got to work together. And it was a huge pleasure working with a director that had so much respect for the script, was a great partner, but also had an incredibly strong vision for the film that I knew I could get behind as a writer.
So what did you really like about it, Michael? Like, what really drew you to this?
I mean, my favorite part about the script was that it used comedy to fuel romance, and that's where I think a lot of rom-coms sort of miss the boat. And it's a very simple trick, but for me, I related to it because every time you're trying to get into somebody's pants, trying to have sex with them,
Right.
You end up trying to flirt with them. You know what I mean? And use comedy. And I think it's something everybody uses to try and break the ice. And especially what I liked about the script is that not only do they use comedy to fuel the romance, but as it moves along and they get closer and closer, that comedy really becomes a symbol of their attraction and their affection for each other. And I think that's what made that script so good to me, and I think it got translated into the film.
That's the thing about the comedy in this film, too, is that you need really great line deliverers for some of these words, because it's not just anyone who can do it. So what made you realize that these actors could do it? Because they did a great job.
I mean, for me, it's always you meet them and you get a sense of who they are as a person and their sense of humor. And I mean, both Dan and Zoe, when you meet them immediately, they're grounded, normal, great people with really sharp wits. And then once we put them together in rehearsal and on screen for the camera test, we knew we had something really special there with those two guys. And it's a combination of that, and it's also a combination of giving them the opportunity on set to talk and to shoot that and to capture that, and they have such a great script to work with, but on top of that, it's constructing the shoot so that they have the time to actually improvise and actually use their own timing and see that connection that's there between them, and we had that time to do that on this film. Which is
That's something that was really important, I think, that Mike did as a director, was to make sure that the actors had the time to explore and to play a little on set, because that playfulness is part of their chemistry, and that's what I was striving for in the script. Then also to get them on set, the two people that are actually going to be the people in the movie, to give them a chance as as human beings and as actors to kind of play and find their rhythm. That was an incredibly important thing, and those are decisions that are made even before you start shooting to make sure you have that.
Michael, when you say Dan, I'm going to remind everyone again that that's Daniel Radcliffe.
I know, we get to call him Dan now. I know.
What did his superstardom do to your set? Were there Harry Potter fans following you around?
No, it wasn't as bad as you might think. I mean, I think you get a heightened sensitivity here at TIFF, but we shot sort of around TIFF. And we had a couple of moments here and there, but really very respectful shooting here in Toronto.
In Canada. We shot in Dublin as well. And it got kind of crazy in Ireland.
Dublin,
So part of the movie takes place in Dublin, a little piece of the movie, and so we went and shot there. And actually, that was where we really noticed the difference, because people in Toronto were incredibly respectful. There were fans, of course. But people are pretty cool and let them do, but in Dublin it got a little bananas. And we were like, oh, this is what it's like in England for him, or in the UK.
He's very gracious and a big pro with that stuff. So him and his team really know how to handle it and to deal with it as well. So
yeah, he's a shockingly grounded, self-effacing guy, just what you'd hope.
We're really worried about him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really cool that you actually used Toronto as Toronto, and so you see a lot of different landmarks that you'll recognize here, not just the CN Tower. And it's really cool that you actually use some of the areas, and that there was no hiding the fact that it was Canada. Yes, they're in Toronto, and that doesn't always happen. Toronto is often the backdrop for Boston or Chicago or
For
something.
me, I mean, I live in Montreal, and when we set it in Toronto, I was, I just, what I fell in love with was the east side of the city. And I think the thing people miss about Toronto is the water and how much waterfront there is, and these
Absolutely,
beautiful
good point.
expanses of beaches and boardwalks. And I thought this would be the most romantic place I can kind of find for the movie. And it's a beautiful international metropolitan city. And I think some of these great classic rom-coms really feature the city. And that was sort of the game plan with this film.
Speaking of which, because this is going to be I'm expecting this to be one of the love movies goes into the ones that I watch over and over again. Favorite romantic movies, two of you each, top.
I think When Harry Met Sally and When Harry Met Sally and The Apartment probably would be the two.
Ilan?
Yeah, I mean, When Harry Met Sally, Annie
Yeah.
Hall, and The Apartment, for me, those three. Yeah, absolutely.
And I interviewed Ilan for about an hour, and you can look at that interview tomorrow on CBC Live. And one thing I asked him that I'll have him repeat here, do I want to go to this movie on a date? Is that going to work in my favor or not, without any
Yes.
spoilers?
I guarantee if you go with a date, you will get some action.
Will I have sex,
Yeah.
Michael Dowse?
Yes.
Yes.
I think the good thing about this movie is that the girl will go and like it, and the guy will like it and not throw up in his own mouth.
Yeah.
That's the important thing about it. It's a perfect date movie.
Great. Thanks so much. Can't wait to go. Hope I have a date. All right. There are so many Canadians at TIFF being celebrated. In today's CIBC Star Moment, we're looking at super director Jason Reitman, the son of great Canadian director Ivan Reitman, and a major force in Canadian film, in Hollywood film, in his own right. He's here at TIFF with his latest film, Labor Day, but he's also brought one of his big passions, live script reads, for the second time to TIFF. And we're going to take a look at him talking about those super cool events.
For me, the live read is my role as a film fan come to life in the most wonderful way. To be able to recast these movies with brilliant new actors, and I'm very fortunate these actors have come to do these. You pay tribute to the words in a whole new way. You know, when you see theater, you can see a production of a play many different times by many different casts, staged in many different places. But there's only one version of a movie. It's a cover of a movie, and I love cover songs. I don't think there's anything in life right now that brings me as much joy as doing these live reads. They are hard work, but they are so joyful, and I am embarrassed to say that I'm much more looking forward to tonight's live read than tomorrow's screening.
There's a new documentary getting a lot of buzz at TIFF right now. The Square takes a look at activism, unrest, and revolution in Cairo's Tahrir Square. Have a look at a clip.
الرصاص اللي كان بيتضرب على الناس كان رصاص حي. بينضرب في كل حتة بطريقة عشوائية في كل مكان في المدينة.
And joining us now are the filmmakers. Jahan Nujaim, producer Kareem Amer, and Khalid Abdullah. Thanks so much for coming, you guys. So, yeah, no problem. Can we start with the access that you got? I mean, this was an angle of this story that we haven't seen, and we've seen a lot of pictures over the last couple of years. So how did you get that kind of access going right into the thick of things?
Well, it's a public square, so pretty much anybody could be there. I live about 10 minutes away. I grew up about 10 minutes away, and I'm Egyptian, as is Kareem and Khalid, and so we all went needing to be a part of this. This was our country, our lives changing. And we were lucky enough to all meet each other. The entire sort of crew and everybody in the film met each other in the square. So
Really?
yeah, so it was an incredible way this whole film
How
came
did you
together.
meet each other? How do you connect that way?
We were all in tents sleeping in the square.
Oh, wow. What kind of danger were you in? Because the clip even that we saw is very frightening.
I think everybody on this team has either been shot at, run after by police or army, or been arrested once or twice. So it's been, but everybody needed to be there. Everybody was very passionate about what they were fighting for. So there was no question as to whether we would stay or not.
Can you talk a little bit about the the camera rolling, on a lot of events. You guys were running at times. There were things captured that, as a viewer, I didn't even realize you'd be allowed to. I mean, were there times when you were stopped, when police, didn't allow you to shoot or anything like that, or any confrontations?
You've got to answer that question. I'm in the film. I didn't shoot it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think what happened was that there was no pre-production, as Jahan was trying to get at. So it was a kind of a spontaneous reaction to what was happening. And I think that at a certain point, you start realizing that you're making a film, but you're also documenting a piece of history, and that the material you're documenting has a role and a place outside of just the film. And so there was this constant filming going on that our team felt an obligation to do, and we were, it was kind of the feeling of the times, and Khaled was spearheading one of the leading organizations that was involved in really carving the alternative media space and really challenging what was being broadcast in the Egyptian media and in media abroad by allowing people who were shooting live in the square, whether it was in rudimentary ways with camera phones or whether it was with more sophisticated cameras, to be able to take those events live from the front lines and take it to a place like Musirrin, where it could then be broadcast and shared with other groups of people. So, and I think that was one of the most empowering experiences of this film, this idea that we can shape the narrative ourselves, that we're not going to allow history to be written by the government or by those who control the usual narrative.
Yeah, and on that note, so far, all the risks that you've taken, how have you seen them pay off as the film has been released to audiences?
Well, last night was our first public screening. We got a lot of buzz about it, a lot of people writing about it, so that's been fantastic. It's the first film that I've worked on where, you're not only making a film, but you're also being a witness, and that's part of and documenting. So everybody in the square that we worked with who had cameras were sort of playing two roles. There were many times when normally you make a film, you follow characters. The characters would be long gone and it would be 3 o'clock in the morning and I would still be there with the camera, and other team members as well would be there, because people would say, you're the only camera in the square. You have to keep documenting because you're the only person that's going to be able to, get this out to the world. So these important pieces of footage have been coming up and been released throughout the year. Now that the film is out, it's able to show a longer narrative of what's happened behind the scenes, behind the headlines over the last couple of years. And that's not only an Egypt story, it's sort of the story of, what happens to the Martin Luther King or the Gandhi when they're totally depressed and feel completely alone and like they've completely failed. Right? This looks at activists as they go through this roller coaster, and those times when people feel like they've failed and that they can't move forward and that they have no support are actually more important times than the times when they feel like they have the world behind them, which is the times that we see in the news. But in order to be an inspiration to other activists, what I'm excited about this film doing is showing those times when Khaled felt like, there's nobody listening to us, I'm completely alone in this square, because those are the most important times when you have to find the strength within you to continue to fight.
But you did get an audience award before the film had even been fully screened at Sundance, right? So you're doing the job you set out to do with audiences, which is really great.
Yeah, and that's the best award you can win, really. Like the People's Award, is much better than any kind of jury award, I have to say.
Great, we've got to go, but can you tell us what we can do on social media to spread the word about this film?
Khaled is, what can we do on social media to spread the word about this film? Help us here. Tweet about it, write about it, tell all your friends about it. We have another screening at 5:30 today, which might be sold out, I'm not sure, and then there's another 2 screenings.
Yeah, but I think beyond TIFF, that the goal is to really connect audiences to the messages of the film. Me and Khaled were just talking about this earlier today, actually, the idea of, this film being a vehicle for people to gather. We were outside smoking a cigarette, and he's like, people need to gather. They need to get together and start having conversations. And we want to use the release of the film to encourage communities to get together and have a conversation, because what the film is trying to highlight is the power of people, and how we, in today's day and age, how we can weld that power, and the beauty of it, but the difficulties of it as well. So
absolutely. And there's an extended interview about the film on Q. Go to cbc.ca/Q. You can listen to that. It's really great. Thank you guys very much.
Thanks for coming.
Next up is funny man Ron James. First, let's take a clip from his show. We went behind the scenes. He let us have a sneak peek. Take a look.
Camera, wires and stuff. And if I pulled this out right now, all the televisions would go off in Saskatoon. Production writers room. We put the writers down here because a lot of them are on parole and they have to be watched. Here's the writers.
Oh, hey! Oh, what's going
See, they're
on?
just joking around and laughing, doing
masterpiece.
doing writer stuff. Look at them.
Oh,
Right.
you. I'm good. I mean,
This is where we'll come between shows and laugh and do jokes and stuff. Thank you very much. Turn it off.
And everyone, please welcome someone that keeps us laughing here at the CBC all the time, Mr. Ron James. Ron, thanks for being here.
Well, what prestigious company I'm in, you know. Egyptian filmmakers, Walking Point with the riots in Cairo. The director, M. Dowson, one of the best Canadian comedies of all time.
Are you
Goon.
a fan?
Oh, yeah, I thought Goon was great, you know. It was very prescient. It came out at a good time, and it was well cast, well written, and very, very funny.
Loving hockey.
I hope he's
Can't go
still
wrong.
around to hear this.
Well, I just told him that, and he said, yeah, try not to bring it up. We're promoting another writer tonight, so.
All right, you're about to come back for another season of Ron James. What can we look forward to?
Season 5, the show is leaner, meaner, trimmer, funnier. We've got triple the departments that we had last year. Monos are scaled down somewhat in order to accommodate the soundbite generation that I found myself in. I was just saying when I played Just for Laughs, you know, I'd only get 8 minutes. And I said, 8 minutes? Boy, that's about as much time as it takes me to set up a preposition. So it's always a challenge, but there's character-driven stuff this year too, you know, to harken back to my days at Second City and when SCTV used to bring me on, and I always admired the work that they could do with, you know, a minimal budget and characters and good writers, and we've mixed up the batting, you know, the batting staff a little bit this year, and so. You know, we've got some young writers in there who are hitting the ball really well. Matt Kippen, Scott Montgomery, and Gary Campbell, and of course Paul Pogue, and then Lynn Harvey. Yeah, he's great. And Lynn Harvey, of course, the executive producer, taking the ship in the same direction. It's a marvelous team. You know, 5 years, we all feel like a family.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, it is fun.
Speaking of fun, what do you think of all the TIFF madness going on right now downtown and around Toronto?
It's incredible, isn't it?
There's
You know,
a certain
Brad Pitt
energy
was
to the city, isn't there?
Brad Pitt was over last night, and I said, if you take one more beer from the fridge, buddy, you and your entourage, you're going to miss your early date tomorrow for the handshake.
Him and Angelina, you mean?
Him and Angelina, the whole crowd. And I'm telling you, those 7 kids get in the kitchen, it's madness. It's madness, man. But I'm going to tell you, a lot of folks don't know, is that not only is TIFF a great forum for filmmakers around the world, but if you know some people, you get free stuff.
Well, if you're famous and you're Ron James.
Yeah, sure, if you're famous.
I haven't gotten anything.
You know what that means for me? I just drink for free north of the tree line. I got a T-shirt made in California you can eat. This is a water bottle, a brilliant water bottle that also filters water. You could go to a puddle right now out front of the CBC, dip it in the gutter, fill that with water, make yourself a nice martini. Postcard from somebody, doesn't matter. And look at this. Katy Perry promoted potato chips. Look at that. Bet you can't take just one bite.
I just saw the little twinkle in your teeth there.
Absolutely. What other goodies are in here? Oh,
Ron, while you're doing that, can you tell me, you have a big role at TIFF. You are hosting the Playback Hall of Fame Gala?
I am. I don't know if I put this in tea or roll it, but anyway. It's looking pretty healthy. I am. I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be amazing, you know, to host a gala with so many prestigious people. Slako Klimku was really important, and you know, jump-starting my career here at the CBC.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We used to do these pieces out there in Winnipeg for the Winnipeg Comedy Festival, customized pieces. And I remember once we were doing a piece on the Prime Minister's, on Borden. I drew Borden, and he came up to me afterwards. He goes, "I don't know how you did it, but you made Borden funny." Anyway.
Plus, speaking of rolling that, you might want to do that before heading out to getting on the flight to the Edmonton to see the CCMAs. What are you doing there?
It's a busy week for me. I'm actually giving an award out at the CCMAs for Best Female Country Vocalist.
That's a big award.
It's a pretty cool award, and I've had some.
You a country fan?
I am actually a country fan. As Ray Charles used to say, I like the stories. And I'm actually sharing the stage with the former frontman for Hootie and the Blowfish, who is on a solo career now. So I certainly hope that he has as much fun playing Grand Prairie in December as I do.
That's cool. We actually are hoping that you can stick around for a little thing we do every day called Trending at TIFF.
Okay.
To look at what people are talking about online.
Cool.
So first up, last night we did talk about Jason Reitman's live read. Just want to say that there was so much buzz for that. He called it 13 inches of awesome.
Wow.
Because it was Boogie Nights.
Oh, there you go. Right, of course.
There, the delayed reaction. It clicks
Eli
in.
Glasner said that Jesse Eisenberg's Dirk Diggler was tragic, but in a good way. And then Jason was also on Strombo yesterday. He's been having, a lot of people go do that red chair interview. You know what that red chair is like. How does it feel?
Yeah, it's great. And Strombo is the best listener in the business. He asks you questions, he listens, and, he's there for the guest, which is incredible.
Yeah, invaluable. Well, I think Jason Reitman agrees with you because Strombo.com tweeted a quote from him to say, "You are truly the most impressive Canadian." That was Strombo too. That was Jason Reitman to Strombo. Sorry, I'm looking for it. I guess I'll just run through these if you can't see them. And then Jesse Eisenberg is there right now. He says, "I don't watch the movies I've been in. I just find it uncomfortable to watch." That's him in the red chair right now in this building. And there are a lot more stars coming if you guys want to see them. Do you agree with that? Do you watch yourself?
Well, I have to because I edit the show as well. So you sort of get used to it. You have to get used to it. I don't like to hear my voice. But it's just one of those things, But it's I've heard it said many times that actors aren't too pleased. I believe Donald Sutherland never watched any of his pictures either, and it's just one of those things. You put your heart into it. That it's in the hands of the director and the editor in post to make you look as good as you hope you were on the floor. But because I edit the show, I have to. I think it's a little different with sketch than it is with a major motion picture.
Now, the place to party every night has been the Soho House. I don't know if we've all been there because we're in Toronto. Have you checked it out?
I have not checked the Soho House. I've been shooting late. Some of my days have been 15 hours this year.
Okay.
And so that's a long day when you're in prosthetics and a wig and
you know what I say? Keep them on. Let's go. Let's have some fun, Ron.
Exactly.
Let's do it.
Okay, I'll go as that alien character I was
Fit
playing
right
last
in.
week.
I would love that. Yes, that would be the best. Zuleka, what are the big red carpets tonight?
Quite a few, but two of the big ones are Mandela, about the great South African leader. So that's a big one tonight. Guaranteed quite a few screaming fans will be there. Dallas Buyers Club is the other one. Matthew McConaughey, Jennifer Garner in that. And it's directed by a Canadian as well, which is amazing. Jean-Marc Vallée, I believe is his name. So those ones are just a few where you'll get a lot of fans screaming, a lot of big names, and we'll definitely be there as well.
Great. The big party this weekend is the TIFF Canada Party, and that's being hosted right here at the CBC. So that's going to be really exciting.
Big
That
fun.
is tonight. We're going to talk about it on the show tomorrow. George Stroumboulopoulos is hosting a Q&A with none other than Ron Howard at the TIFF Bell Lightbox tonight. So go to tiff.net if you want to see that. On tomorrow's show, we have director Bruce McDonald, actor Maxwell McCabe Locos. They made the movie The Husband, and we're going to talk about that. Some more big CBC celebs, Yannick Bisson from Murdoch Mysteries, David Sutcliffe and Brooke Nevin from Cracked. You won't want to miss that. Have you got a... Ron James, well, those pop chips will probably be eaten by then, but still, we'll be broadcasting here from the CBC Broadcast Center in Toronto at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Join us live or join us at cbc.ca/live and join in the conversation at CBC Live, #CBC TIFF. We'll see you then.